It was the middle of the night. The house was silent, but inside the bedroom, Jonas was sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. The bills scattered across the table were like open wounds. Each number, each due date, seemed to scream that there was no way out. The weight in his chest was so heavy he could hardly breathe. He had tried everything: loans, extra jobs, cutting expenses, but it seemed that the more he fought, the deeper he sank. In that moment, there was no pride left, only a broken man, pleading for a miracle. It was then, with tears in his eyes, that he whispered, "God, if you're hearing me, show me what to do. I have no strength left." And like a whisper from far away, he remembered a phrase he had heard in childhood: "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you." It sounded like a calling, an invitation to stop desperately chasing after the solution and instead place himself completely before God. In the days that followed, Jonas decided to do something different. Before any phone calls to collect from clients, before any spreadsheet, he began the day in silence, on his knees, speaking to God. It wasn't a rehearsed prayer, but a sincere cry from the heart. He would say, "Father, I place my debts in your hands. I know I'm not worthy, but I trust in your love. Touch what I cannot touch. Open doors I don't even know exist." And with each prayer, he felt a little of the weight lifting, bit by bit. But on the third night, something unexplainable happened. While he prayed, he felt a gentle warmth flow through his body, and a peace he hadn't felt in years filled him completely. In that moment, he couldn't explain it, but he was certain something had changed. The debts were still there, the problems hadn't vanished, but the affliction had turned into hope. The following week brought surprises. Without him asking, an old client rang offering a large job with payment in advance. On the same day, a friend, without knowing anything, made a bank transfer to help him because he felt it in his heart. And opening his post, he saw that one of his largest bills had been renegotiated with an unexpected discount. It was as if heaven was moving invisible pieces. However, a few days later, the trial returned. Jonas received a letter about an old debt he believed was cleared, now with added interest. The amount was high, and fear tried to settle in again. For a few minutes, he felt as though all his progress had been in vain, but then he remembered Peter walking on the water, sinking only when he looked at the wind and the waves. Jonas closed his eyes and said, "Lord, even in this storm, I will keep walking towards you." The next day, when he contacted the company, he found out there had been an error in the system and that the actual amount was much smaller. Once again, God was in control. There was also a time of silence. No new opportunities, no obvious miracles, just ordinary days. Jonas kept praying, but it seemed as if God wasn't answering. Until one night he opened the Bible and read Habakkuk 2:3. "Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." He realized that silence didn't mean absence, but preparation. He decided that while he waited, he would give thanks for every provision, no matter how small. And then, unexpectedly, a door opened. A company he had sent his CV 2 years ago rang with a proposal. The job was temporary, but it paid more than any he had ever had. He accepted, and the contract allowed him to pay off one of his heaviest debts. Jonas remembered Revelation 3:8. "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." On another night, he received a message from an international number. It was a distant cousin living abroad. Without knowing about his situation, the cousin said he felt in his heart that he should send money to help. The amount was exactly what Jonas needed for an urgent payment. He realized that God could use anyone from anywhere to act. Months later, Jonas was free from debt, but the greatest change wasn't in his bank account, it was in his heart. He had learned that prosperity begins with peace and trust, not with a balance. He began helping others in need, praying with them and teaching what he had learned. If you're living through something similar, understand this. It's no coincidence you're hearing this now. Maybe this is the answer you've been asking for. Close your eyes, picture all your debts and worries in God's hands, take a deep breath and let go. Because when you surrender, heaven begins to move. If this message has touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. It might be that this word will change someone's destiny today.